In the village of Amema, nestled between the thick forest and flowing rivers of eastern Igbo land, preparations for the grander celebration of the season were underway. The air buzzed with excitement, the elders recited blessings, and the youth gathered fresh palm fronds to decorate the compound of Chisem, the village chief. His only son, Chima, was to marry a stunning woman named Amoka, whose beauty was the talk of the neighboring villages, yet Amoka was not a woman anyone had seen before. She had arrived in Amama only a few months prior, seemingly out of nowhere, but instantly captured the heart of Chima. Her skin glowed like the sun on river water, her eyes sparkled with an unusual light. And her voice could calm the stormier soul. Villagers whispered that, the chief priest, Papa, I have seen strange things about Amoka. There is a spirit in her I do not understand, Neka said one evening, her voice hushed, her father closed his eyes, contemplating the words, and after a moment, he looked at her with a knowing gaze. A spirit can wear 1,000 faces, my child. Some come to bless, some come to deceive. The river spirits are ancient and mysterious. We shall see what they reveal. As the wedding day approached, Neka's worries turned into conviction. She watched Amoka more closely, seeking proof that her suspicions were real. That evening, while everyone slept, Neka ventured to the river bank with her father's ceremonial cowrie shells. She threw them into the water, and as they floated on the surface, the river grew eerily still. Suddenly, a vision came to her mind, a bride with scales, hidden beneath her flawless skin, and eyes that gleamed like the river at night. The next morning, Neka warned Chima to be cautious, but her words fell on deaf ears. Blinded by love, he believed Neka was merely jealous. Neka, you worry too much, he laughed, dismissing her fears. Amoka is everything I have ever wanted. On the night of the wedding, the village gathered under a full moon. Drums beat with fervor, voices lifted in song, and the scent of freshly cooked yam and palm wine filled the air. As Amoka approached, dressed in fine coral beads and a richly woven wrapper, she looked like a goddess. Yet, Neka's gaze was sharp, watching her every move. The ceremony began with traditional blessings, and as Amoka and Chima took their vows, a gentle breeze stirred, growing into a strange, cold wind. Suddenly, the sound of a serpent's hiss echoed faintly from the forest edge, though no one seemed to notice except Neka. With the ceremony complete, the village celebrated late into the night. Yet, Neka, fueled by intuition, followed Amoka as she quietly slipped away into the forest, leaving the sounds of laughter and music behind. Hidden in the shadows, Neka observed as Amoka walked barefoot along the riverbank, her steps graceful yet unearthly. She watched as Amoka knelt beside the water, her fingers trailing through it, shimmering like scales in the moonlight. As Neka looked on, she saw the transformation begin. Amoka's skin began to shift, revealing a pattern of scales underneath, shining faintly under the moonlight. Her eyes gleamed, no longer the soft brown that had captivated the villagers, but a piercing green that belonged to a creature of the river. Neka gasped and stumbled backward, snapping a twig beneath her feet. Amoka turned, her eyes narrowing as she saw Neka. For a moment, silence filled the air, thick with tension. But then Amoka's face softened, and she spoke in a voice that was both sad and ancient. You are the only one who knows, she said, her tone heavy with sorrow. Do not fear me, Neka. I am not here to harm your people. I am bound by a promise, to protect those who shelter near my waters. Neka trembled, both afraid and intrigued. Why hide who you are, then? Why deceive Chima and the village? Amoka looked toward the village lights, flickering in the distance. I was once like you, Neka, a woman of this land. But the river spirits claimed me long ago, when I sought their help to save my family from drought. I became bound to them, neither fully woman nor spirit. Only free to walk among humans under the guise of the moon. Then why marry Chima? Neka asked, her voice trembling. Love brought me here, Amoka replied softly. Though bound to the river, my heart yearned for companionship, for family. I did not intend to deceive, only to belong. Neka understood then, the weight of a love caused by fate, the yearning for a life beyond the river's grasp. She hesitated, torn between protecting her friend and honoring the truth. Amoka looked at her pleadingly. Let me stay, Neka. I bring no harm. If Chima's love is strong, perhaps I can remain with him, living as both spirit and wife. But if the village learns my secret, I will be banished forever. In that moment, Neko realized the strength it took for Amoka to risk everything for love. She gave a solemn nod. Your secret is safe with me. But promise me one thing, if the river ever calls you back, do not hesitate to go. Chima deserves the truth. Amoka agreed, and with a grateful smile, she disappeared back into the shadows, returning to the village and her new life as Chima's wife. For years, the village flourished, and Amoka remained a devoted wife and a cherished member of the community. Neka kept her promise, never revealing the truth of Amoka's hidden skills. And though Amoka occasionally returned to the river on moonlit nights, her love for Chima kept her bound to the world of men. But in the quiet depths of the river, the spirits watched and waited, knowing that someday, the bride with the hidden scales would be called back to the water. And when that day came, Neka knew that she, too, would keep her silent promise, protecting the memory of a love forged between land and water, between a man and the spirit of the river.